Hello, welcome to another Cook With Me Gluten-Free. I'm Robin. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is the first time you're here, welcome to our little gluten-free community. I like to make things and try things that are gluten-free. Sometimes it's a mix and sometimes it's a recipe from scratch. Today, we are going with a mix. We are trying the liveGfree. This is the pancake and baking mix, but we're going to make these biscuits today. I have been craving biscuits, and this is going to be a drop style biscuit. I have made biscuits from scratch before and noticed that the recipes that call for butter typically aren't as good as the ones that call for shortening. And I'll be honest, shortening kind of scares me because I'm like, what is this? But boy, does it taste good in a biscuit. So this particular mix called for shortening, and that was intriguing. This liveGfree brand comes from Aldi. So if you have an Aldi in your community, go grab a box of this. Maybe you want to make pancakes. But for the biscuits, 2 cups of the G-Free mix. It did leave a little bit left, so the whole box is probably like 2.5 cups. Then it's a 1/3 cup of shortening, 2/3 cup of milk, and 3 large eggs. Pretty easy. Let's take a look at the ingredients. So here's a 2 cups of mix, and this mix is very, very light. I mean, almost like fine dust. So very light. We've got our 3 eggs. This is our 1/3 cup of shortening. I think maybe that's why shortening scares me. Like, what's in shortening? I know it's oils, but it just feels like a bunch of different things that they've thrown together. We've got 2/3 cup of milk here, one of my favorite KitchenAid mixing bowls. I've got a spatula, a fork, a scooper for our drop style biscuits, and of course a baking sheet that I already have pre-lined with parchment paper. And the oven is preheated to 400. So reading the instructions, they seem very simple. 4 things, just 4 things. Preheat the oven to 400, already done. Next, we're going to cut the shortening into the mix using a fork. Now, I do have a cutter where I cut butter or shortening into things, but I want to follow the directions to a T. So using a fork until particles are the size of small peas. And then from there, we're going to stir in the rest of our remaining ingredients, which would be the eggs and the milk. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by putting the mix into the bowl. And I'm going to put in half the shortening first, and then get started mixing it into peas. So I'm going to start this process, and as I start to, once I get a little further into it, then I will come back and show you what it looks like after you've incorporated all of the shortening into the mix. Again, this is 1/3 cup of shortening, of which I measured out perfectly. So we're going to get all of this into the bowl, and I am going to use my fork to make it into tiny beads. And again, I'm still just, it's surprising how light this mix is. So light. Okay, I'm going to work this in and I will be right back. All the shortening is in. Now we're going to stir in the remaining ingredients, and it says until a soft dough forms. So that's pretty easy. I went ahead and cracked my eggs. So I'm going to put those in. All right, now let's add in our 2/3 cup of milk. And that's it for the ingredients. Now we're waiting for that soft dough to form, and it looks like it's happening pretty quickly. Make sure that there's nothing else that I'm missing on here. Step number 3, remember there's 4 steps. Step number 3 is drop scoopfuls onto an ungreased cookie sheet. Again, I have mine lined with parchment paper, but I did not grease that parchment paper, and then baking until 13 to 16 minutes until golden brown. So it looks like our dough is definitely forming there. It's looking good. And it does specifically say stir. So I am using a spoon to stir. I mean, it looks really perfect, almost like the dough that you would make from scratch. And it's pretty amazing, again, since this is so light. The mix is so light. I don't want to overwork my dough. It's looking pretty good. I've got a nice dough ball here. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop out that first biscuit. It says it yields 10 biscuits. So we're going to see what size biscuit I can get. I'll see if I can get 10. I'll do one scoop now. Let's see. I think we're going to go about like that. We'll drop that onto the pan, and I'm going to continue until everything is on our cookie sheet. They made it onto the cookie sheet, and it looks like I have 11, not 10, 11, using the scooper size that I used. So we're going to pop these in the oven. Again, 13 to 16 minutes on 400. As I always say, my oven is somewhat super powered, so I'm going to set it to the least amount of time, which is 13 minutes, and we will be back to take a look. All right, I kept my biscuits in for about, let's see, 13, so 14 minutes, 1 minute additional, because I wanted that browning. So you can see they look lovely. And also at the bottom, now they're still super hot. I'm going to see if I can show you the bottom of one of these biscuits. You can see, perfectly prepared. They look nice and fluffy and delicious. I'm going to let them cool for a couple of minutes, and then we'll see how they taste. Here we go, the moment of truth for our biscuits. Okay, here's the one that I chose. I'm going to break it in half first so we can see the inside. Here we go. Perfectly cooked there. Let's taste it. It's a no for me. The texture is very, very nice. I think it would make a great dessert. Like if you put some, like a glaze on it, but it tastes very plain and very bland to me. I would imagine that if you use this to make pancakes, the same thing would happen. Where's my box? Let me see. Let me grab my box. Here's the box again. liveGfree, gluten-free pancake and biscuit mix. I would definitely give this like a 1 out of 10. I don't even know that I will be able to salvage those. Maybe I can try to come up with some other recipe to repurpose those biscuits, but I definitely don't recommend. But if you love them and you found a way to make these delicious, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me on another Cook With Me gluten-free. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you want me to make or try in the comments. We'll see you next time.